Hi, I'm Brian McLachlan and this is Deep Thought Balloon, little videos about comics, stories, pop culture, and other stuff. Let's talk about writing comedy. This episode is about how humor works in your brain. Here's a simple story for you to imagine. There's a room, a door opens, and a woman walks in. She takes off a red hat and puts it on a table. You didn't know what would happen next in the story, but none of that really counts as a surprise. Your mind started to make the picture of a room. If you hadn't pictured a door there before I mentioned one, that new information didn't ruin your mind's image. Neither did a woman coming in. Those things are pretty normal. And when you realize she had been wearing a red hat earlier, you can just change that without destroying your mental picture. It's just a bit of rewriting. What would make you stumble is if I broke the image in your mind in some way, like if I said she came in wearing a green hat and took off a red one. That mistake would be my fault. That's how your mind works. It creates a thought space where you can imagine a situation. It doesn't bother with unnecessary details, so it's not wasting power, energy, and attention. Even in the room you're in right now, you don't fully picture it. Until you need something in that room, like an outlet to plug in your phone or a particular book from a shelf, you won't waste mind energy actively picturing an outlet or a book's spine. Let's do another story. Two goldfish are in their tank. One turns to the other and says, "You man the gun, I'll drive." This time you're probably picturing two goldfish in a fish tank. A talking goldfish would be surprising in real life, but not in a joke, so that's okay too. But when the fish says gun and drive, your previous mental image of what kind of tank they're in is proven wrong. And that's what humor is. It's when something sneaks into your mental space, like the word tank, you commit to it, you're actually picturing the water-filled glass tank, not an unfilled sketch like the room in the story above, and then quickly you realize you've made a mental error. Oh, wrong kind of tank. That becomes your brain's cue to laugh, or smile, or groan. A joke is when you realize a harmless truth after you've believed something else to be true. So, if we're trying to write comedy, we're trying to trick your mind into one place and then reveal that it's not where it thought it was. Like a magician, except in the end you know how the trick worked. You can trace back why you thought the wrong way. Of course, if you heard that goldfish joke before and remember, the surprise is gone and it's not as funny. There needs to be a surprise for something to strike you as funny, and you need to not be so mad or sad after the joke that you can't laugh at the surprise. If the surprise is a practical joke where you're humiliated in front of your friends, you might be too angry to laugh about it, even if you can do so later when the anger fades. Like I said, it's a harmless truth. This taps into the benign violation theory of humor. Benign is something that doesn't hurt you, and a violation is something that breaks through a boundary. A joke might cross a line, push it, or try to redraw it, but it can't hurt very much to cross that line, or it's not benign. So a close family member tickling you is a benign violation. You laugh even though someone's breaking the boundary into your personal space and touching you. A stranger tickling you is not a benign violation. You're more likely to smack their hands away than start laughing. If something is completely safe, like a woman goes for a walk, it's not funny. If it's unpleasant, a woman viciously harms a monkey, it's also not funny. But somewhere in between, maybe it could be. When your brain encounters new information and it's trying to figure out how to react, it fires off a wave called a P300 or P3 wave. Neuroscientists have discovered that this switches on when you are presented with a riddle or a puzzle. If you solve the riddle, like how a fish can be in a tank that you can drive, the N400 fires off. That's the part that says, I know where to put this new piece of information. It works for problem solving whether it's figuring out a joke or a math equation. So sometimes an N400 indicates a laugh and sometimes it might be a smile. A riddle is just a joke that lands on the aha rather than the ha-ha side of funny. There's this part of the brain that's called the anterior cingulate. It's like the United Nation, which tries to let each very different part of the brain speak in its turn. When you hear a joke or riddle, it's trying to shut down the loudest voices in the brain so the less likely answer can come through. Let's look at a series of questions. What kind of office delivers the mail? Post. What kind of beef do you find in sandwiches? Roast. To brag about something is to boast. What do you put in the toaster? The anterior cingulate is desperately trying to stop your brain from blurting out the word toast. You've been pushed to think of rhyming words, and you've just read the word toaster. It wants that wrong answer toast to quiet down so you can hear the logical answer bread. Toast is what you take out of the toaster. And that's how jokes work. They get you to think one way and reveal to you the real answer that you should have known all along. We'll get into more comedy in the next episode. Good luck and keep thinking deep thought balloons.